What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Cyber Monday show, and it is on Cyber Monday, so I feel like it just has to be a ball. So we have just an action-packed show today, and we're going to get started on all of that after this. I feel like that energy just kind of, that video just kind of is about. Anyway, Make, what's up? How's it going?
Dude, it's happening. What's going on with you?
Oh, man, we're rolling. We're rolling. What's up, Ellie? And then if you are watching, let us know down in the comments. Tell us how you're doing. Good to see everybody. Ladies and gentlemen, we have just, an absolute stud in infosec here with us today. And I'm so excited to finally have him on. Ladies and gentlemen, TechTual Chatter. What's up? How's it going?
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Another Monday. Tried to find some cyber deals. Pretty much like everybody else probably watching.
Yeah. Hey, yeah, man. I don't know. Did you guys, Make, did you do any Cyber Monday shopping today?
I may or may not have bought a new webcam because the one that I'm currently using isn't the greatest, and so it's like a Razer webcam that was normally like $200, and I got it for $100. So it seems like nice. 1080p, 60K or 60 frames per second. I'm gonna be coming in crystal clear.
Yeah, beautiful. I actually just bought the Logitech streamer webcam. What was it, like 2 weekends ago? I like it.
I almost got that. It was a tie.
Yeah, I got this, and then I got my one that I shoot my content with, and sometimes that gets a little overheated, even with the battery thing. So I was like, this will work, because even then, sometimes, don't like you guys know, streaming like this, you got to rely on other people's camera quality and stuff like that. So that's one of the reasons why I don't really go live as much, because I kind of want the video to be great for everybody.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm just disgusting. I'm using the cam on my Mac right now.
Looks good though. I mean, honestly.
Well, it's because the screen's condensed down. If I went like full screen me, it would be disgusting. Trust me, it's horrendous. Normally I film on my iPhone, but hey, so excited to have you here. And for those of you that haven't yet met him, this is his handle on Twitter. Henry, real quick, for people that haven't met you yet, do you mind just kind of going through, your cybersecurity journey so far? Talk about, your YouTube channel and some of the cool stuff that you're doing.
Sure thing. So first and foremost, I start everything off with letting people know that, look, I came from help desk. Did that for like 2 years. Went the knock route for like 8 months. Then finally got my first cybersecurity role back in once I got kind of like hired in like February 2017. I started in March of 2017, and that's my first SOC role. I was working for Big Red, aka McAfee at the time. Pretty interesting. I would say it felt like I was working at a startup there, because previously they had been owned by Intel, and so Intel was handling all the security operations, and they brought us in, and it was an interesting time. Showed me a lot of what not to do. I just keep it that frank.
I love it.
Then after that, I went and worked for Opta for like the last 3 years of some change. Experienced a ton of growth there with leadership opportunities, and working with a huge client that really, pushed my skill set forward to help me get better, each and every day. And now I've moved on to fintech, and I'm labeled as doing instant response for them, which I will be doing, but was also told kind of what one of my projects will be, specifically just me working on. So I'm excited about that, because it gives me another notch in the tool belt, and something I could use, because after this, like the next role, I think the only next thing for me to do is possibly just be a director. So that's the trajectory I see for myself right now.
That's awesome. So, I guess you're kind of wanting to kind of go the management route, right?
I mean, technically, I am in like I'm labeled as an incident response manager. I mean, both. I like being technical too. Uh, I just know also being at the management level, I get to be a part of those conversations that some of the workers don't have, to where I could fight for the guys that I remember like me, as long as give a bigger input on what solutions I believe we should use. And that's one of the reasons why I like going to companies that don't always have everything so mature, because I get to see the impact of things I'm implementing, and I can put it on my resume and I could talk about it in length. So that's why I like
Yeah.
doing that.
That's awesome. And so, as you're kind of working through all of that, what motivated you to start a YouTube channel?
Oh man, so this is my second channel. My first channel was dedicated to boxing. I'm a huge boxing fan, and so I was doing that, but I had always helped people before I even started my YouTube channel. So what I thought about was like, what can I do? It's a pandemic. And I think I saw some other channels around. I said, you know what? I like talking about this stuff. Let me do it. And that tied my YouTube channel tied into also like, my business as like being a coach. Because I was also always trying to help people before then. And sometimes they weren't even in tech. They were just needing help with their resumes or however, whatever's going on. So I always been like that. So now I'm able to reach, a lot of people. Like you saw on Twitter, I just crossed 100,000 views. So now potentially 100,000 people have seen me, and I like when people reach out and say, "Hey, thanks for, your video. I learned this about that," and I just try to bring my own perspective pretty much to what I've experienced so far in infosec, and I like the feedback I get, whether good or bad. That's how I take it.
That's awesome. So, how is, kind of helping people and teaching stuff on YouTube translated to your career, and really vice versa? How has that feed loop gone?
I think all of them correlate with each other. I have my ebook coming out, and I tell people about why I think it's important to brand yourself. I feel like my career got a big boost once I really started branding myself more, from LinkedIn to YouTube to my business. Like I've had recruiters reach out to me and say, "Hey, just want to tell you I like the YouTube channel," and I've told applicants that, "Hey, go check out your channel." Even small things like that. And one of the also things I think that's helped is the hardest thing I think for people that are interviewing or managers is figuring out who you are as a person.
Mm-hmm.
Now with that channel, I have a year's worth of material on there where if you want to go scam me, you can find me and you can figure out who I am, what I care about, what I know, my network, what do people say about me. So I think that's one of also reasons that's it's kind of helped me out, is going that route. And with the business, it's also helped me centralize everything, focus on really helping out, focus on, like just a few minutes ago, I'm getting good at, it's kind of like, if I would say like, I used to remember with teachers or something, or anybody. I like to do sports analogies with coaches.
Mhm.
You've seen enough either bad habits or things like that, you can know why somebody's not successful.
Mm-hmm.
If somebody was a quarterback and they say, "Oh, your 3-step drop, or you're doing your arm like this is why you're not getting the velocity on the ball," or something. So with some of my clients, especially, I see a lot of people gravitate to me that are trying to get out of the help desk and they want to go the SOC route, which is prompting me to eventually, when I get the capital, I want to do a SOC course that's concise. I've seen different courses, which I haven't had the chance to do all of them, but a lot of them have great information, but I think it's information overload that doesn't help someone need to do the job on day two. And I've been realizing, as talking to people, is like one of the things people are struggling with is the thinking aspect of doing the job. And I think that's one of the things that's hindering some of these people from getting these roles. They are dialed in, studying and passing the test, but that test sometimes talks about scenarios, but not as in depth as somebody can tell you something from a real world alert that happens in their environment.
Yeah, and I know that you just mentioned using sports analogies and how that's kind of helpful with explaining things to clients. And I personally, I love to think in analogies, and especially sports analogies. I just think, you'll find more, sports fans out there that might resonate, kind of with that. And one of the analogies I love to think about is how oftentimes whenever you see, kind of like you said, a lot of the bad habits being formed and success not being had, you'll see a lot of players and coaches talk about, well, we just need to get back to the fundamentals.
Mhm.
And it's kind of the things like you talk about, like for a quarterback, that 3-step drop, or with
Not staring at a receiver.
yeah. And like, for like a defensive player, like understanding your assignment and like, which, where you're supposed to be lined up, like that can really like make an impact after the snap, right?
Definitely.
And that, I think that translates very, very easily to cybersecurity, where it's like those little things, those little practices can really have a pretty tremendous. Actually, Makeshift and I were just talking about this prior to this about password policies. Make, do you want to kind of go into that a little bit?
Yeah. So one of the things that I had brought up was actually just today. I'm actually going to a local hockey game this upcoming weekend. Well, when I went on to my, city's team's website to order the tickets, they gave you the option to, create an account and then, and also whether or not you wanted to save your credit card information on their site. Well, once I started going in to try to create a password, I created, a normal password to us, which would be, like 16 characters long, alphanumeric, special characters, the whole 9 yards. And it told me that my password, like the criteria, it didn't meet it. And I was just like, it's kind of baffled. I was like, what do you mean? And it didn't allow special characters. So I was just shocked by that. I was like, this is a fairly new website, like it's a fairly new team. They did a rebranding a couple years back and was blown away by this, so much so that I had actually reached out to the CEO of the team for both the hockey team and the baseball team and said, I work in cybersecurity. I deal with this kind of stuff all the time. And I came across what I would consider a flaw in your guys' security policy. And this is what it is, like not being able to have special characters as part of somebody's password, but also being able to store the credit card information, which is fine. But like if your password's like only accepting alphanumeric, that is a problem. And I actually got an email back, not from him. It was from somebody that, works with him or whatever. Say that they were, that they had forwarded my email over to whoever deals with it or whatever. But they were like, yeah, you pointed out some really good points. I was like, yeah, because if you guys end up getting attacked and you have people's credit cards, like you're gonna have a whole ball of issues that you just don't want to deal with. So it was just crazy to me that even something like that, like even, I felt like it was my job as a cybersecurity professional now to notify them of that.
Yeah, definitely. And that's a thing that you said that reminds me of what I've been kind of reiterating to clients over and over again the last couple of weeks. The biggest issue for a lot of people getting into cybersecurity is no experience.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what you just said is potentially a project. I mean, of course, you're already in, but let's say if you weren't, that's a project that you could do. And I think it would catch a lot of interviewers, attention because you took the initiative, saw a problem, provided a solution, and you fixed it, which is something that some people aren't doing because, I mean, it is ridiculous on how it is to get into cyber, but you help yourself out being passionate and vigilant in this space because, people are doing just the craziest things. Like, I wish I could freaking shut down all the fake auto warranty scam people and IT help desk like in the swoop. That would be like, I think anybody should get hired if they can single handedly do that.
There's all the phishing email campaigns too. I mean, Emotet is kind of reviving itself. So, I mean, and some of it, I mean, in retrospect, it might seem, kind of elementary, recognizing when a phishing email is happening. But for a lot of people that haven't been trained up on the fundamentals, like it's not so simple.
Yeah. I think it's like I think it's always like number one when it comes to security awareness. Like you can have all the tools and everything else, but your people are your biggest risk.
Yeah.
And I think it's on the security awareness creators to make that training a little bit more interesting than they have in
Yeah.
the past. Because some people don't care about it; they just go through the motions and they're not paying attention to it anymore. That might be
So,
better.
quick question for you. So, I know just kind of going back, I know you were talking about, once you get the funding and everything to actually start doing your own like SOC training. One, this is kind of a two-part question. So, one, would the training be more of like a workshop, like what a lot of these places do, where you guys all get in on like having one person share their screen, you start working through stuff together, or would it be more like a Udemy class where it's just kind of follow at your own pace? And then the second part up to this question is in that class, with it being something SOC related, and we consider that an entry level job, what fundamentals would you personally want to include in those classes?
Good question. All good questions. So in the beginnings, I plan to probably start off. Sorry for missing this lighting. I'm trying to get it better in here, but but in the beginning, I did say I was going to tell some of my clients I might set up some. I'm trying to figure out what type of open source solution I want to use right now. But
Mhm.
a couple of us get on the call and we just work through some stuff because it'll give me a good idea of what everyone's lacking to what I can address in the training. And I will plan to have it to be a self-paced course that you log into wherever I host it at, and you go through whatever modules there are, and you work it at your own pace and provide like a little certificate or something at the end. Kind of like most things, but it'll be a little bit simpler. As far as what I would include I guess you want to say like investigation 101.
Mhm.
Uh, and I would include so the hard thing I think for me is not hard thing, but every sock is not created equal. Some you got the
No.
MSS types, and then some you got that actually want you to research. So I would say I'm gonna include stuff like maybe SIM fundamentals,
Mhm.
investigations, maybe throw in a little bit of some OSINT stuff. Eventually, if I get better at it, which is funny, right when I was leaving, they were letting us do a little bit more with the EDRs. We had CrowdStrike implemented. Doubt I'll be able
Mhm.
to get my hands on that. I tried to for free. They told me I tried to request a demo so I could like throw it on like a YouTube thing. They was like, no, we can't do that for you.
Dang.
Some with CrowdStrike,
Next
and
time.
then right. So I would say most of the technical things you probably would see in the SOC. But then I would go a step further because I don't know if all these cover this, but I will go over, okay, so now that we figured out this is an incident, let's, escalate it to a ticket. Let's do
Mhm.
ticket hygiene. Let's work on use cases, documentation for playbooks, email etiquette, um, things like that. Even I guess that'd be into the investigation part, but when you have to reach out to users, how do you reach out to them without saying too much? You don't want to say, "Hey, your account's been compromised." You kind of want to draw back because they're gonna, what? What are you talking about? You kind of want to say maybe along the lines of we see some unusual activity on your account and want to verify if it's true. So something like that is vague, and then see what they say. So those were kind of some of the things, and I'm actually glad that you asked me that because I haven't really written it down. It's just in my head.
Yeah, it was one of those things I was curious about because I for what I do now, I kind of do some SOC related stuff. Um, and one of the things is, yeah, when you come up with an alert for a particular user, reaching out to them and like bringing it to their attention that there's an alert for them, but like not being like, making it seem like it's some high alert thing and it's critical and they need to start,
Right.
you're like inducing panic or whatever. Like you bring it up to them like, hey, okay, I'm checking some daily alerts that we get all the time, and your name happened to come up for one of our alerts, and I'm just reaching out to you to confirm this. So I think being able to kind of in your class, like explaining how to go about that in a non critical stress inducing manner is awesome.
Yeah, definitely. Because I think it's one of the things that I've seen people miss, or they just get in and some of the things. That's why I always big up my help desk experience, because it helped me with the processes and really noticing when stuff doesn't make sense to ask those questions, because you come from a process background. A lot of people want to come in and be like The Harder They Fall on Netflix and just start shooting. It's only one part of it, you know.
Mm.
Yeah, I noticed one of the things that you mentioned was, sim fundamentals, and I see the Splunk shirt that you're. At least I think that's a Splunk shirt that
It's a
you're
smoke
wearing.
shirt.
Yep, I got one that's just like it. It's one of my favorite ones.
Yeah, it's getting faded. I actually need to order some more. That's how much of a favorite it is for me.
Yeah, right. But next to Splunk, what are some sims that you enjoy, or not sims? Sorry, like just some tools that people should get in on, and practice while they're trying to get into cybersecurity.
Uh, I've been working out stuff like that, because I mean they do have open source things, which is, I mean, this is
Mhm.
actually a great uh, video suggestion, because people always ask. Because I've been looking to, I tell people all the time how I did like a slide thing on, what was it, Instagram, about EDRs, like the top 5 EDRs and what's my favorite. Because somebody's a new person may not know about that, and I'm like, well, if you could potentially get some experience in it, you could, you know, specialize in, a CrowdStrike cert, which their certs aren't that expensive. So if
Mhm.
someone could learn the things, they could get a CCFA or CCFR and potentially focus on some CrowdStrike roles. But I'll say software, so you want to say like tools, something like if we're going to like the basics, like people need to know at least, I won't say you have to know how to script
Mhm.
perfectly, but know at least how to interpret PowerShell programming. So you can do PowerShell, Bash, Python. I've seen that, it's important that people know how to do, um, like you brought up, phishing, but even even if you just go on a small scale level of, handling phishing, like where you just have your own virtual environment, and then you maybe run the attachment through something in what was I used to use? You can use URL scan, or you can use I like any run. I like any run because it would let me like kind of poke through things, and how I found out, um,
I think
red
Cyber Chef is a
flags.
pretty good one as well. I
I
don't
was
know
gonna
if you've
bring up
ever.
CyberChef, especially for decoding base
Yeah.
64 and those PowerShell things. Man, they, what's funny though? Either one of the weeks or week before I left, I actually found one when I was working with our IR guy. And if anybody's listening, one of the biggest things about working in the SOC is knowing your environment. So when you get to know your environment,
Oh no, ambushed.
right? She couldn't hold back any longer. But one of the one of the biggest things about working in SOC is knowing your environment, and knowing what's normal and what's not. And I'll correlate that to something simple. I think this is one of the gifts that I've been blessed with, is that, at your house, you know who your normal visitors are and who's somebody car you don't recognize. Most of the time, when it's a car you don't recognize, you kind of look through the window, and then you might step out and kind of see what's going on. It's kind of a way you want to approach things when it comes to a SOC environment. Now, at the time, we were working out of, also, guys, learn about SOAR. I believe that's security, orchestration, automation, and response. I think that's what SOAR stands for. Um, I had used Phantom for 2 years, and then we started using Palo Alto XSOAR right before I left. That particular alert, I think, was like either a low severity or medium severity. So I seen people looking over it, but as I dug into it, it just didn't sit right with me. And as we got into looking into it, we found out there was a lot of malicious stuff going on with it. And I want to say that we found like some fileless malware trying to either dropped off on the machine or whatnot. And I think I was able to also put that together from I don't know if it was some EPO log, some McAfee EPO, or it was CrowdStrike looking at the process tree and looking at the activity of like I think it's like the last 30 days or something like that. But definitely, like you said, like CyberChef is a big one. And what's funny is that Chris Sanders had a course that I saw that he had specifically just for CyberChef for people to get better at that. So that's definitely one. I know there are courses out there, but if you can understand correlation searches, that's a big one. So interpreting correlation searches, because sometimes a new rule might be put into place that you don't necessarily know what it does, but if you can go look at the search, then you kind of break down what it's possibly looking for, and that will give you insight, on what to look for. Um, and one of the biggest skills, honestly, guys, if you really want to know, ask questions. I work with people that will just nod their head but not ask a question, and then it comes back to bite us in the end. And I'm always like, no, we should ask questions because we're getting paid, and if something happens, they're going to blame us. Which that's what I did. I was sitting on that where they don't tell you what happens like in an incident or breach video for like a while. Like I had want to talk about that forever, but I had to wait until I was leaving to kind of give my spiel on it.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, definitely a lot of just excellent stuff that you brought up there. So much to unpack too. I feel like, making videos for all of that, that's a good 3 months of content.
Right.
At least.
Yeah, and well for what I haven't covered, my guy Dave Cyberwalks, who's like, I wish I could have YouTube and did it at his age. Like he's killing it. We're actually doing it's been like a year since him and I went live, so we're doing something actually this week. Just with I think he's almost been in infosec for about a year, so I think that'd be pretty cool. Like a person who had like, I won't say zero knowledge, but if I go back to his videos, I probably said like zero knowledge to like where he is now. I think it'd be pretty good. So anybody that's new in the industry, come over for that, because I think that can realistically show you what you can do if you put in hard work for a good year of time. I've seen it personally with my own eyes of what can happen, but you gotta be willing to put in the work.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've been following Cyberwalks as well. He's crushing it. He's crushing it.
Yeah, man. I was like, man, but then again, he's either 19 or 20. It's just like crazy. So I'm just like very happy for him. Just the fact that, I knew that it's pretty much every person I pretty much referred at the last company pretty much is like excelling. And like I think in his last video, he just told people about how he got a promotion in a different role, and that just speaks volumes to the work he puts in. And also, if you're listening, guys, you may not be where you want to be at your current role, but build up your network. I had been talking to him for a while, and he was talking about the situation. I was like, man, I knew we had spots going up because we had actually just went through that incident. I was like, listen, man, just sit tight. We got like a couple of spots open there very soon, and we were able to get him over there.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's sick.
Yeah.
Again, sometimes I'll like have a question in my head, and then I'll think about what we just talked about, and then I'll lose the last question. I need to write these things down, but I'm not that professional.
So trust me, I know. I mean, purposely when I do my stuff, I purposely try not to write stuff down. I just try to listen and go off of what somebody said, like you said, because I think it makes it a little organic to where it doesn't feel like an interview; it's a conversation.
Yeah, honestly, 100%. I think it flows a lot better, and we get into some. I think we're able to kind of unpack a lot more doing that. So I definitely agree. What are you mentioned earlier? Well, we were talking about fundamentals and kind of just things to hit on. You've mentioned a few of those. I think with just asking questions, picking the right tools to learn, or not right, but learning as many tools as possible. I've seen some comments in the chat just talking about how difficult it can be to find an entry level position, especially coming in from another industry. What are, some of the fundamentals that they can hit on right now that can really set them up for success down the road while they're looking for their first position?
I definitely say, and I forgot to mention this because I just started rambling on, but cloud, Linux, like I said, is the stuff I was bringing up with automation. Even listen, they have. I mean, all these companies are putting a lot of money into everything. So even if you were researching something like, you know, machine learning for cybersecurity, I've seen that because I want to say CrowdStrikes and SentinelOne use a lot of machine learning for their products. So even some things like that, just kind of researching and kind of maybe taking an interest in even the entry level may help you because honestly, I say real entry level jobs probably like 0 to 2 years. And most of the hiring managers aren't the people that's writing those job descriptions down. So if you're finding out that you probably are not getting callbacks or getting those generic emails when you apply, go on LinkedIn and reach out to either one of the recruiters for that role, or you could reach out to somebody on that team or a hiring manager. Most of the time, when you show yourself friendly, most of the time they'll reply and they'll eventually say, okay, hey, send your resume over. I have a video I did on that last year, which is not the best quality. I've touched on it, with actual, evidence in my book. But it's also on that video. I go a little bit more in depth on that to kind of at least, I'm not going to say it's going to always help you get a job, but at least help you get a call back, get an interview. And sometimes some companies will just keep you in the pipeline and say, hey, you're such a good applicant. We got this such and such role open up. Do you want to take a stab at this one? And that's how it happens. I know I forgot this because I kind of just gave a chronological order, but I also tell people sometimes that the first entry level role is a combination of like hard work and luck, or I say like opportunity. My situation happened because I left work. We had some type of gathering at work. I remember like yesterday, it was December of 2016. And so I left work to go to this career type of fair thing at Intel at the time. And because I think I asked the talent acquisition before that they have cybersecurity people are going to be there. And they said, yeah. And I went there and met with the guy. They saw my face and ended up liking me. And that's one of the things that got me on. So I was putting in the work, scattershot approach, but I was also willing to do the dirty work and go somewhere. Even the brief stint that I got laid off, I pretty much did every different thing to get the role until the right one found me when I really wasn't looking for it. So not to get on that soapbox, but that's some of the things that you could do or look at to get entry level roles. Of course, also if you're trying to go on cyber, know some networking. I think networking is huge. I'm actually rusty on networking. I've taken like 2 or 3 networking classes, but I am rusty. But starting off, it'll definitely help you to know about networking. I don't think you need, for the certs, I don't think you need anything more than Security Plus, maybe Network Plus. Some people say CCNA. You don't really need the CCNA unless you just want to get, or somebody's paying for it for you, then go ahead. I definitely thinks it makes you a more attractive candidate, but you don't want to go too overboard with the certs. I like my last client I was just talking to. Sorry, I'm not gonna put his name out there, I'm not putting his business out, but he agreed with me as well. I was like, I think all these certs you have may be negatively affecting you when it comes to these interviews, because the interviewers probably have preconceived notions of you because they may be expecting you to be at one level and you may be somewhere, so you're getting probably negatively judged. And so you kind of want to, if you're one to do entry level and try to break in, keep the search you're doing at an entry level max. Don't go past that. Everything else you need to do, work on the skills for the roles that you want to get and go from there. Anything else may not help you. And it's not worth spending the money to do all these certs just for you to still say, hey, I'm still looking for something. And you're on LinkedIn, open to work. So, that's just my tidbit on certifications before we got to that question.
No, yeah, that's good. And I mean, I love the point that you just made about, get the certifications for the level you're after, or study for the level you're after, right?
Right.
Because I think it can be kind of easy to go down the rabbit hole of just grabbing certs, and then like you mentioned with your client, like the interviewers kind of thinking, okay, this person's clearly like on it, but then there's like the question of like, but if there's not the experience to back it up, there's all the certifications, but like then there's the question of like, but why is there no experience? Is there something that we're not going to see that's keeping this person from having a job? And I could see that kind of being one of those hurdles in
Definitely.
the interview phase. That's like, I mean, that's tough. It's not great, but yeah, that's
Yeah.
a good point.
And I think people sometimes get so many certs their brain starts getting fried. They do forget how to think because they're trying to I just finished this cert, but this wasn't in there. I just like people to have all the pressure off them to really be as good as they can in the interview and the job.
Well, and another thing too, and I would love for somebody to maybe give me a devil's advocate version of this, but you know, like I saw somebody, the Let's Talk in the chat said, that they had done their pen test plus and they still didn't get any job for entry level. So it's like, if you're paying for all these on your own and you pay for your A plus and for whatever reason you still can't get in, you're like, okay, well, let me go for Net Plus. And then you get that and you still can't get in. And then you go for Sec Plus and so on. It's like, if you get all these different certs and you're still not able to find one, it might be a reason for burnout. And you might not even want to get a job at that point. Like, at least not in InfoSec. Like, you're going to be trying to search for something else that might be, and this is not me downputting it at all. This is me just like, finding a different option that necessarily doesn't require certifications or any sort of like on the job experience, I guess, is, getting a more blue collar job, because you're probably going to have an easier time, or you're going to think at least that you're going to have an easier time getting one of those as opposed to getting, a job in InfoSec. I mean, I was very much down that road myself. I was trying to break into the industry. And when I was working, in help desk, like I couldn't get out of it. Like nobody wanted me even for other help desk jobs, which I thought was really
Yeah.
funny, because I'm like, I'm already in this position. And I had friends literally telling me, they're like, dude, you need to make a little bit more money. Why don't you go and work, at a factory or something? That way you're at least getting the money and then you can study this other stuff on the side. And I was like, because even though I'm passionate about it, if I'm starting to make $30-$40 an hour working in a factory, or even more than that, I'm
Right.
not going to want to then turn around and go to try to find a job in cybersecurity where it's an entry level position and I'm making way less than what I'm at, working in a factory.
Yeah. That's definitely all good points you brought up, because I remember sometimes I did tell some people when they were wanting to pivot, I was like, you may have to take a pay cut depending on your skill set. Like I have people, like I've had clients I talked to that got bad advice about going into help desk because they could have went into something like IT auditing or something based on like their accounting background, opposed to people whose background really doesn't line up too much to where they may have to just start over at help desk or something like that. So that's a good question. I've had people that's been trying to do it for years and they've got burned out. Like one of my clients was like, I'm done with tech. I'm just going to do this and that. But one of the issues is I think a lot of us practice insanity. Like even myself, like what the advice that I'm giving out today, I didn't know those things 5 years ago. All it was, hey, get your security plus and just keep applying, you know, which obviously wasn't working. Like wasn't tailoring my resume, wasn't using LinkedIn like I should. Had office politics at the current job. Like, it was a whole bunch of stuff going on that could make you say, man, this is never going to happen. But I would say you got to persevere. But now it's more information out there, like shows like this and other shows, to where, you can figure out, hey, is this advice that I'm getting really good? And also, people, like, we are in this information age. If possible, vet the people who are giving out the career advice you wanna be like. Most of the people that I'm very, close to, like Caleb sees me talk to on Twitter, uh, I've seen all their LinkedIn's. I know they work what they say they work. I know they done what they said they did, which makes it easier to listen to them. Please, try to do that if you can. That'll help you out more. Because sometimes, and it's not just infosec. I've seen it with like, all facets of YouTube. People get on here and say they are who they somebody like just parading as somebody else, but they're really not them, and then you're believing it, and then what they're telling you doesn't work out for you, and now you're mad or you have a vendetta against every coach or everybody selling the course when truth be told you didn't do your due diligence like you should. So just keep that in mind, because I'm all for, like, I don't care like what route you take to get into cyber, you can get in, but I also don't like when people lose their money or then start going at everybody else because they were done wrong.
Yeah. I think that's so right. I mean, this is kind of like, this applies not just to cybersecurity, obviously, but vetting your mentor. Especially if it's somebody that is going to be speaking into your life in such a significant capacity, then you want to know that they're on it. That they're not,
Right.
kind of like you said, like at worst fraudulent or at best mistaken. And that's not to say that mentors don't make mistakes. That's not, that everyone's a human, but a good mentor will, be transparent and say, hey, maybe this wasn't the best advice. Here's really what I'm seeing is a bit better. And they'll circle back. And it's really just kind of a dialogue, right?
Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
yeah. What are some tips that you have for, people to kind of vet their mentor and to, find folks that, that are better in that way?
I would say pay attention to their actions, what they say. I would say if you're trying to find a mentor, maybe not get somebody that's the same level you're at, get somebody who's been doing this, maybe 5 years, 10 years. You can kind of see where you want to go. They give you that advice. Because I see sometimes too people who just get into the industry. You want to do this, which I get it, but I don't. I'm not the person to qualify everybody. But it would have been no way possible 5 years ago when I got my first SOC job. I could have came on the Twitter and say, "Hey, I'm gonna help you guys all get into cybersecurity roles." I didn't know enough to help anybody. I hadn't experienced enough to, show people or seen enough things. So it's one of those things. That's why I said, like, those those jobs or what they talk about. Maybe they did. You know what? Maybe they didn't work, but maybe they still know what they know. You know,
Mhm.
Look at who endorses them. That's a big one. So if respectable people endorse them, then that's a good thing. Not just somebody that's endorsing them because they're getting paid, but um, and out here, like I said, with this content, review the content, listen to it. There's plenty of content creators now. Listen to the different content that's going on and see if it lines up. Don't listen to, like I said, if a person's trying to take you get all these certs, that's not a person to listen to, because truth be told, when I was helping interview at my last company, I rarely cared about asking what your search was. I normally went off your resume and asked you things according to what I knew you would see on on a job. Uh, Pay attention to people that promise you outlandish things like, "Hey, get into tech. You're going to get six figures." that
Not,
that's the
that's not
that's the
always the
biggest one.
case.
Not starting out, you ain't.
Yeah.
Right. And if you do, it's only, like I said, it's only it might be a unique situation with a company that understands the market right now and they overpaid. But most of the time you have to have that experience. I only know a couple of people who came out of either college or like their, first, second job that got close to that. But they had the skill set and their value was that to the company.
Yeah.
That's the key word, guys. Remember your value. I had a video a long time ago that said Sec Plus. I think I was just ranting about people saying they passed Sec Plus in a week, and I was saying, you might not even get 70,000. You might even get that. I was like, you got to prove the company that you're worth the amount that you're asking for.
Yeah.
So those are some of the things that you can look into when it comes to vetting these people. And well, yeah, I already said that. That's the same thing. There's no reason to reiterate that.
Yeah. I think passing like a cert like the Sec Plus in a week, that's a great headline. That's going to get some clicks and views. But practically speaking, I mean, fundamentally,
What did you
like
learn?
whenever like, did you learn things? Like it is a dense test. There's so much to go over, and it doesn't just brush over it. Like
No.
it goes into it, and you got to know
Yeah.
it. And so to pass it is one thing, but you're really passing it to prove that you know it, so you can take it to a job interview and say, "Hey, I know this." And yeah, that's. I mean, again, it's cool that that someone can manage to do that, but at the same time, you
Yeah,
know,
definitely.
that is a speed run of a certification something to emulate whenever a career is really the objective there.
Right. And the good thing is they have these other companies coming out with certs that aren't as recognizable, but uh, nevertheless they are good certs because they're starting to make more certs practical.
Yeah.
So people keep in mind that as they start moving to practical, these test bank people may be in trouble.
Well, and a good thing, since we're kind of on the blue team talk here, is range force. I mean, for somebody that has used their product before, because they had actually reached out to me and they were like, hey, like, we noticed that you've got a decent following or whatever. We want you to try out the product and give an honest, opinion of it. And I think that their stuff is very good as far as blue team practical hands-on learning. Anytime you want to do any of the, I mean, we talk about this all the time. Anytime you want to do the actual red team hacking stuff, you're going on your try hack me's, you're going on your hack the box,
Right.
you're doing the pen tester labs, all that stuff. When it comes to actually learning like the blue team side of stuff, like there's really not a whole lot out there. I know
Right.
try hacking started slowly kind of bringing some, some rooms to surface that they have, but range force is really really good as far as that goes. They really
Yeah.
kind of go in depth and they show you certain steps that you have to take and where to go, and it's really good.
Yeah. I need to reach back out to them. I think I tried to years ago. I mean, not years ago, but like last year,
Mm-hmm.
about that to try to see what I could work with them on the review and stuff. So I'm gonna have to do that. I know. I actually need to see what my membership runs out, but I did do the membership with INE,
Oh yeah.
and they put some good stuff together, as far as like showing you how to do some rules in Suricata and ELK, and then doing the boss of the sock data in their Splunk labs.
Mm-hmm.
So the only thing with them is, they are somewhat pricey if you don't have the money to afford it. So that's the big issue with them. I like Cybrary.
Very good.
They have a lot of labs, which is cool. If you just want to, like, I know last year around this time, PowerShell was hot on like every incident response or whatever job I was interviewing for. So I started, going doing on PowerShell every day. So that's one of the things too. Like, if you start seeing skills that you lack, go find a platform that's either free or affordable that you can do, and see what they had to offer on the skill, and learn about it, and lab every day.
Lab every day. I love it. Yeah, that's so good. And one of the things I'm also kind of curious about. So while I was in college, I just did some internships, and that kind of helped me get a little bit of experience. One of those was a help desk internship. It was very brief, so I don't even count it. It was a very brief, but very educational. Makeshift. You worked help desk prior to jumping into cybersecurity. Henry, you work help desk. How helpful was that to get some non-cybersecurity experience prior to jumping into cybersecurity to get kind of a broader picture of, the flow of operations? Or was it not that helpful? What do you think?
I think it is, but I think also what a lot of people in help desk don't realize is they actually are doing some type of cyber security related activities. Like I used to work for the TSA help desk, so we had to verify everybody, that called in to figure out who they say, who they were, what they said they were, or something as simple as back then we used to use this thing called Anacam. So if they wanted to log on to OWA, to make sure that their account stuff was updated so they get the right code or verify them to send them the code to log on. So I would say help desk, a decent help desk, you're probably doing a lot of identity and access management as far as changing passwords or paying attention to what paths they have access to or different folders. So I would say that we do some things. We just don't notice it because they don't call it that until you get with somebody and they bring it out. Say, oh yeah, no, you actually know how to do this, this, and this. You just gotta, put up there. But I think it was very helpful. Coming from my first major ticketing system using Remedy, KBs, knowing how to ask the right questions on the phone to end users. Troubleshooting was huge because I just take the same process and I throw it to when I work in the SOC thing to just the thinking part. Because even then, some of the issues we ran into, we never saw before. I remember we were handling stuff. We got they added the federal air marshals on our contract. So anybody's flown, those people sit in the back with the guns and stuff. And you realize, so a lot of people say, oh, I mean, he just helped this. But my job was important enough because if those guys couldn't get to their internet and all the stuff on their phone, they're in trouble. And so that was a big deal for them. So I remember us trying to figure out how to navigate what was going on their end without having any documentation. And I can correlate that to trying to work a new correlation search without having a playbook or anything, figuring out what's going on with that. So I'll say they kind of go hand in hand, just different domains. But I overall, I really do think it was a good experience, and you kind of understand some basic stuff. Like I remember I tweeted a while back, like and some new people on the SOC didn't know about PS exec. Well, I used to see the help desk people use PS exec all the time, and so now seeing the PS exec on the other end, you're like, is this person an IT person? Why are they using PS exec? So it kind of makes you go off a light bulb, but you wouldn't know if you didn't know what that was. So I would say it's about what you make it, and if you were in a good one like mine, it really does prepare you for your next couple of roles.
Yeah, and I kind of goofed. I said that it wasn't, cybersecurity.
No, I know what you meant.
Yeah, a lot of the work, is very directly cybersecurity, where you're triaging cases like early on, right? Like you're getting a report of, oh, hey, I just clicked on a phishing email and I don't know who to send this to, but hey, that's a problem. And you might be able to work
the
that.
Occasional, my internet's not working when they're working from home. I'm like, well, call Spectrum.
Right. We got a couple questions. You mentioned IAM earlier, and we actually got a question from a guy with a whole channel dedicated to IAM. And we've actually talked to him. So check that interview out on the channel if you are watching this, if you haven't seen it. Henry, who is your favorite boxer of all time currently? And this is from Andrew, by the way.
Yeah, shout out to Andrew. He's normally on my Twitter feed too. Of all time, Roy Jones is my favorite boxer of all time. And I actually got two favorite boxers currently. One for the entertainment factor, and then the other one because he means business. Right now, like a favorite, like just fan favorite, I enjoy to watch and hear just because he's funny as Adrian Broner. And then honestly, like just to me, who I think is like the best, just because he carries himself like an old school fighter who's always in shape, ready to fight, is Terrence Crawford. So that's my favorite of all time and currently favorites.
I'm curious because you used a football analogy earlier, so this is kind of like a shot in the dark.
Don't you like the Chiefs?
Yeah, what?
Don't you like the Chiefs?
Yeah, I'm a big Chiefs fan. I thought you said that you're also a Chiefs fan. I was about to go, yay.
I'm a Broncos fan.
Well, I'm really sorry in advance for what's about to happen on Sunday.
Yeah, I don't know. Did you just see how we just did Herbert? Herbert got sacked.
Yeah, but
If y'all
Herbert's broken. Herbert's broken.
if y'all O line looks like it did in the Super Bowl, I mean,
It's a
be
completely
careful.
different O line. Yeah, there is not a single starter. No, that's not true. There's one starter on the line that was there in the Super Bowl. Everyone else is brand spanking new. I'm excited.
And
I
we
think
got,
it's going to be a great game. I
and
think the Broncos are
is it
playing
this
good.
week or next week?
It's this week. Yep.
Oh yeah. We got Bradley Chubb back too. I think people gonna be surprised that we go to 7-5.
Yeah, I don't know. I think the Chiefs' defense is looking pretty hot too. So I think it's going to be a good competitive game. It's in Denver, right?
I gotta check. I know we're gonna probably run the ball like 40 times. Like we've been that balance we got with Gordon and I think Williams, I think his name has been pretty crazy this year for him to be a rookie.
Gordon's good, man. Honestly, you mentioned you have like a boxing channel. It's like I'm almost tempted to start like a Chiefs channel at some point, just because it's like I can talk all day.
Yeah,
It's so much fun.
definitely.
Do it.
Might as well. I mean, I switched it from. Granted, I'm gonna use it for other stuff because there's other things I would talk about that I just don't put on this channel just because it just would throw the algorithm off.
Mhm.
But I say do it. I learned. I mean, that was the best thing about me having, the success I've had on YouTube so far. It was just like I knew exactly what not to do, and you can start seeing from the beginning of my videos to like the end part of what I started learning from channels like Think Media and Nick Neiman.
Yeah.
Started watching those guys, and it's paid off. I didn't even think I'd be at where I'm at now. So
Yeah. Well, you're
pretty cool.
crushing it, so it's really rolling.
Yeah, I'm trying, man. It's
We got
definitely.
Yeah. I mean, it's a grind. I mean, 100,000 views, like that's not a small thing. that's a
Yeah.
lot of work that kind of
That's
goes
a lot of
behind.
people.
Yeah. See, but what I learned from my last channel is I was really when I started this one, I was never really worried about the subscribers.
Mhm.
I was never really worried about the views. I was really more concerned, I guess, about watch time and engagement for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah,
I knew,
time, I mean, that's kind of the thing to be worried about, I think.
right.
For sure.
But I knew as long as like I had good SEO titles and I just focused on making good content, that I'd be fine. So whether I had hit 1,000 last year or in 3 years, I really wasn't too much worried about it because that's what I found out. Like, I used to complain, oh man, why nobody? Oh, nobody's watching because your audio's bad. This is bad. This video doesn't make sense. So those things.
Yeah. It's the amount of there's definitely. I mean, the to-do list that is lengthy behind each video. That's 100%. We got a question from Sarah on favorite infosec publications. This is a great question. I'm curious to get you guys' answers.
So in my Slack space, I don't say I necessarily have like a fave, but I have a whole channel that's dedicated to like the cybersecurity news or security news, and mostly it's like Krebs on security, bleeping computer. Every so often, digital shadows will send some stuff in. I have NIST news on here. So I kind of just got a collection of these that send stuff straight to this channel, and I'll periodically see it. That's what led me to make that Robinhood breach happen, which still doesn't sit right with me about how they were saying they got hacked.
No comment. There's a lot of
Right.
there's some shadiness. There's some shadiness.
It just didn't make sense that the person fooled the customer support specialist, and that didn't make sense. I was like, how he gained access like that? Come on, man. Who you fooling?
Hashtag insider threat.
Many questions. Right. It's stick to learn the fundamentals, guys. Yeah, and yeah.
I'm pretty sure the internal team told them, but I seen a meme. It was like that Drake meme. It was like internal team tells you about security threats, and it like had the face like saying nope, and then external consultant, and it was like yep, like
yeah.
I was like that's definitely how it is.
Yeah, that's Make you got any publications that you like?
I'm gonna be honest with you. I've been out of the publication game for a minute now. I just go on Twitter.
Yeah,
Not
Twitter is
bad.
probably better than news, honestly. I don't even
Well,
watch the news
so
or anything. I just go to
I
Twitter.
used to on my old phone before I switched it over. I had like a whole like RSS feed of just everything. I had stuff uh from like McAfee. I had it from Norton. I had all these different blogs that I was pulling stuff up from and everything. And then I got a new phone and none of it transferred over. And I mean, there was probably 100 different blogs that I had just scrolling through. And then when I lost, I was like, that's doing too much trying to get it all back. So I was just like, and then, again, 95% of the stuff that I get is from Twitter. I mean, if you follow the right people, you can get some really good like
Info.
information from them, so yeah, I mean, it's just I go on there and 95% of the time I find out about the new breaches that have happened, not necessarily like new CVEs. I mean, unless you want to follow the CVE profile. But yeah, I mean, like any news that happens to come out, like I found out about the Colonial Pipeline thing from Twitter because I don't pay for cable, so I don't watch the news anyways. Um but yeah, I mean, I honestly, I think that if you want to find a lot of different information, especially in cybersecurity, is following the right people and then just focusing on Twitter. I
Yeah,
lived
and I
on
also was
Twitter.
going to say, oh no, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine.
Oh no, I was going to say that I forgot. Like the reason why I started that channel in my Slack space is because I remember starting out. I would always get interviewers say, "So how do you keep up with cybersecurity trends or whatever?" And so subscribing to some of those things that he just mentioned, even you can now depending on the age, you might not want to say Twitter because they might think you're trying to be funny. But for the most part, some of those sites that I named or whatever sites you want to think of, that's a good way to tell them how you keep up to date with the trends.
Well, and some of the times too, you can follow those accounts, on
Hmm.
Twitter and get the same information that they would
Right.
post because obviously they're going to want to reach wider audiences. So they might go, oh, okay, well, I made this blog post on our website, but let me share it to our company's Facebook and, the LinkedIn and the Twitter and everything and really get the outreach that they're looking for.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I've mentioned before, even on this show, that Twitter at best can be a tremendous resource, and at worst can be just the worst thing ever. But this is like one of those cases where it can be actually a very handy resource. Where I mean, a lot of people will curate those things for you, and then they'll make a list. And you'll be able to just check the list and see all the articles that you'd be interested in. So like the hard work, the heavy lifting is kind of already done for you. It's just a matter of finding that, or you can do it yourself. You can build it yourself, and that can
Right.
be fantastic.
Shoot, I honestly would like to say outside of me getting jobs from LinkedIn, Twitter might be the best networking place. Like I met so many people in the community just from Twitter, like good,
Yeah,
solid people that know what they're trying to push the culture forward in a positive way. So, I mean, I tell my clients now, I have it in the book. I said networking. Twitter is in one of the bullet points.
hmm
And like Twitter is getting to the point where you could do a couple of hashtags and people will DM you about jobs.
for real. I had like one tweet kind of blow up that I just kind of said, "Hey, I'm interested in this," and I mean, a lot of people saw it, and some people were, I mean, sliding into the DM saying like, "Hey, we're actually looking for people doing that." It's like,
Yeah,
word. Funny you say that. it's
right.
it really is fantastic, and I mean, LinkedIn is another good resource, but yeah, definitely don't underestimate Twitter.
No.
We have another question here: Muhammad Ali or Mike Tyson in their prime?
Uh, that's tough because both of them was kind of robbed of their prime. But if I'm gonna have to say somebody, I'm gonna have to go Ali.
Mhm.
Tougher competition that he had to fight. Beating the prime Foreman is like nothing to scoff at. And what Joe Frazier, and then he had Joe Lewis. Yeah, I'm going Ali. I love Tyson. Love his skill set. Love his persona. Definitely has an interesting podcast if you ever watched it. So I'm gonna have to go Ali.
It's a
Let me
good
tell you
one.
too. I've seen some recent videos of Mike Tyson like still practicing and everything and sparring with some dude. Man, if I was that dude's trainer, my hand would hurt even holding on to those pads because that dude still hits like a solid rock, man.
And he's not necessarily like for boxing a young guy, right? And he puts heat.
Oh,
Yeah.
there's
I mean, he was supposed to be
He's
fighting
Conor
Jake
McGregor.
Paul or
I mean, I
something at
know that
one point
that's
in
not like
time.
a 1-to-1 because he was coming over from UFC, but I mean, he's a younger guy. I feel like, right?
Who?
Uh, who? Wait, didn't one of the? I don't watch
Oh,
boxing, so I don't
maybe
even.
you might be talking about it was Paul and Woodley. Maybe that might be who you're talking about. Maybe that was the last like kind of UFC celebrity boxing thing. Maybe
Hmm, I
I
don't
know
remember.
Holyfield fought like a UFC fighter. It's been
It was a while ago, but
okay.
yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know, but yeah, I don't know. I feel like I don't watch a lot of boxing, but I can I can tell it is an exhausting sport.
yeah. They had not to get too carried away, but they actually had two great fights that they had on Saturday, which was pretty cool. I if they get it to be back on, well, it's gonna be hard for it to be back on regular TV. That was the biggest issue when they took it out of regular TV. But with apps like DAZN and other affordable apps where you can watch boxing, it does make a comeback because it's still a sweet science and it takes a level of thinking for people to enjoy. I still try to watch UFC sometimes, but in its essence, it's still a little bit barbaric for me.
now
I
I
think
will
it's getting
say,
I think it's getting better, but I remember back in the day, like the ref wouldn't even come in; they just hammer fish you like all on the ground. I was like, I don't know.
I will say, I do think that they're trying, at least like you were saying, like the Jake Paul fights and everything. Like I honestly think between him and Logan Paul, for as goofy as they are, just being a bunch of YouTube stars, but them, deciding to do these boxing matches instead of doing like a UFC match or whatever, like they're pulling in some numbers. So it wouldn't surprise me if it has a slight resurgence, just from doing all that. I mean, hell, even if you're looking at the like when you're watching the fight and you're seeing the people in the audience, like there's a lot of people that show up to it. They might
Yeah,
be fans of Jake Paul or Logan Paul or whatever, but they're still going to a boxing match.
man, yeah, and not to be on a boxing tangent, the one fight I wish I could have went to this year was Wilder Fury 3. If
Mhm.
for casuals that just like boxing, if you want to watch 2 6 foot 7 8 guys knocking each other down and trying to figure out who gonna really just not get up or whatever, like that probably be like the fight of the year. This just because of how it was just crazy and interesting. Like my girl was watching them, she didn't even watch boxing, like she was glued to the TV. So um, definitely. But I'll leave off that. I'll probably touch on that I haven't uploaded a video a while in my other boxing channel. I mostly do Terrence Crawford videos when I feel like it.
Yeah, man. But we're probably gonna close this up, here in just a moment. But I feel like I'm so curious to get more information on you from about the Denver Broncos.
Oh yeah.
What's your take on the Von Miller trade? Because I have a buddy who's a Broncos fan. His opinion actually surprised me. He was cool with it,
I
but
was
I
too.
feel like the timing of the season was a little. It was a little interesting. I didn't feel like the Broncos were out of it, but I mean, with it, I feel like it's such a hard division and it's such a hard thing to
I think
predict
it's one
because
of the best divisions in football, honestly.
yeah, and this is a heck of a season where literally all four teams are very good. I got to say that the Chiefs are going to win the division, but behind them, who's going to take that wild card spot? Because I really think that one or two can actually take a wild card spot and hit the playoffs.
I think honestly, and I could say I'm being biased, but I honestly think Denver can because the games they lost were winnable games. It was no
Mhm.
game that they were in that they really should have lost. They should have won. They should have beat the Eagles. They should have beat the Raiders. They should have beat the Steelers. Like they had issues with their offensive play calling for the longest. Like just open it up. See, but now they also have Jerry Jeudy back, who opens up a lot for them. And then they got Tim Patrick, Cortland Sutton, Noah Fant. They have a couple other. They have a really talented offense. It's just
I
the
like
fact.
Teddy Bridgewater too, so I feel like their offense is kind of slept on low key.
Yeah, Teddy isn't. See, the thing is, Teddy isn't all the way healthy. He's been getting hit and hurt, but he's been making the right plays. And yesterday, when he got hurt, Drew Lock showed why he wasn't starting because he threw the dumbest interception you would ever see. But the surprise is honestly, somebody even said it, but if you really pay attention, like since Von's been gone, that defense actually has been better. And we had people out. We had Kareem Jackson and somebody else out yesterday. But when I tell you they really did get to Herbert, who's elusive and can run. They got to him, and I think that what happened is Denver switches up. Denver's typically a man team, but they realized, hey, you know what? Let's go to zone. And them combining zone with some man is giving teams fits. And with you guys only having Tariq and Kelsey, I don't really see the other people. Yeah, Mahomes great, but I don't see the other people that really make them to be scared like it used to be. Like back when it was the Sammy Watkins and you had I forgot who else it was.
Yeah,
it used to be different.
That's kind of the rub with the Chiefs offense. The past few years they've had Sammy Watkins, and like now there's kind of the term the Sammy Watkins player for the Chiefs offense, where it's like you have Tyreek and Kelsey and you know who they are and what they can do, and they're still doing great. But you need another player that because they're clearly going to get double covered on pretty much every play, and so you need that third receiver to step up on routes. And Sammy Watkins was good enough to take advantage of those situations, but now he's gone. So you got McCole Hardman, you got Byron Pringle, you got Demarcus Robinson and Josh Gordon. And they've all kind of been – I mean, Josh Gordon's still kind of working his way into the offense, but the rest of them, they've been there. And
I was surprised you guys didn't try to go after Odell, honestly.
They were involved in the talks. I'm kind of surprised that Odell didn't pick Kansas City, honestly, because from what I understand, it was between KC, Green Bay, and LA. And LA just offered more money, which makes more sense. I mean,
and it's better weather.
Yeah, well, yeah. Yeah. But if you're going, I mean, at this stage of the career, go for the ring. Go for the ring. Like he hasn't been with a team that legitimately was going to get the ring. And I think Kansas City, the way that the defense is kicking into gear right now, and they're the way that they have completed November is pretty much parallel to the way that they completed November in 2019 when they made the Super Bowl run. I mean, great offense is one thing. They had a great offense in 2018, but a terrible defense, and they didn't make it to the Super Bowl. They've had, average defense minimal the past 2 years. 2019, they closed the season out with a top 10 defense, and they won the Super Bowl. And right now, I mean, if you isolate just November, which I know that's kind of like a favoring the Chiefs. Yeah, but it is evidence. I mean, they beat the Cowboys, which is the number one offense up to that point.
They didn't beat the Cowboys like Denver did. We beat them like a drum.
What? How many points did the Cowboys score on that game?
I think 7. It was like 30-0 going into the fourth quarter.
Yeah, I mean that's a beatdown. that's a pretty good beatdown. But yeah, I don't know. I think we're in for a pretty good clash Sunday. I mean it really is strengths on strengths. I mean, I love the division, the division matchups. I've kind of always hated Denver just because of the Peyton Manning years. They really just I'd go into those games so joyful and happy to watch the Chiefs, and then Peyton Manning would take my soul away.
Omaha.
Yeah, no, don't want to hear it. I'm so happy to see him on the Manning cast.
Man, y'all are lucky everybody is lucky he got hurt because he still be playing with Tom.
Yeah, man.
They are lucky because everybody's like, oh, that Tom's broke it. I was like, they only broke the record because Peyton got hurt.
Yeah.
Like, don't get it twisted. I was like, he was the guy, you had to keep him off the field, but he was like, you know what, Tom, that's a good offense. We're finna take all the time on the clock. We're finna running back stretches to the left and the right, and we're gonna control the clock because we're not trying to let him get on the field. That's what I was telling one of my friends. He's a Chiefs fan. I was like, Mahomes is going to have to control the ball a little bit more because his defense wasn't helping him out much in the beginning of the season. I was like, that's what he's going to have to do because if you can't depend on your defense, you can score as many points as you want to, but it doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say 2 fun facts. Justin Simmons knows how to read Patrick Mahomes. If you go to that crazy interception he had of Patrick Mahomes a while back. And another fun fact for people that don't know is I'm from Louisiana, and going into my senior year of high school, our team actually played against Tyrann Matthews' team at LSU's 707 tournament they had every summer. And that's when I knew he was going to be good. Our star player who ended up going to LSU, and then him, when we went back and forth. I think they aired us out by like a touchdown. But that was just a fun fact about me. I actually got to play against some NFL people in my lifetime.
That's sick. I feel like Tyrann would be a cool guy to line up against and play football with.
Yeah, he was definitely cool, and he's the height these guys see on TV. That's around the height. We're around the same size, so he's definitely not a big guy.
Yeah, he's violent. He's violent. He plays with ferocity.
He has to be. He when he went to LSU, and I was realizing exactly who that was. I was like, I remember that guy. And before he had that really breakout season when he was a freshman, my cousin and I were saying it's like, you know what? This young guy is always around the ball. Every play, he was around the ball. I said, you can't teach that. I was like, he's gonna be good. And so I'm glad he's got up there with you guys. Does Morris still play for the Chiefs? Morris Claiborne, or he doesn't play for the Chiefs anymore?
No. I don't know if he did. That might have been a long time ago.
I know he played the Super Bowl year.
Did he?
Mm-hmm.
They might have signed him, and he was like a 52 or 53 guy.
No, they brought him in because he went to. I mean, he came from Dallas, and then I want to say he either came from Dallas and went to Kansas or whatever. But yeah, no, it's just another person from my hometown. In the league.
That's sick.
Yeah.
Man, well, this was a ton of fun. Definitely don't want to keep you up too late. I mean, it's been a long Monday, and same with everybody else. So thank you, everybody, for joining, and thank you, Henry, for jumping on. If you don't mind, just kind of stay in the back for just a quick second. But if you are interested in seeing the channel, there's a link down in the description. You can check it out. It's TechTual Chatter. And then I believe there's also a link to his Twitter account there so you can follow him. So that I will see all of you next week.